The house was always cold, not because of the temperature but because of the air of indifference that hung heavy inside it. Ever since my father remarried 3 years ago, I've been trying to fit into this new family, but it feels like an impossible task. My stepmother Clara might look perfect on the outside, but behind closed doors, her cruelty knows no bounds. Her daughters, Lila and Bianca, treat me like an unwanted guest rather than family. Mornings are the hardest. While Clara dotes on Lila and Bianca, ensuring their breakfast plates are filled with pancakes and syrup, I'm left to fend for myself. If I dare to sit at the table, Clara's icy glare forces me to retreat to the kitchen corner, eating toast as quickly as possible to avoid confrontation. One evening, I accidentally spilled water on Lila's shoes. "You clumsy idiot!" Clara screamed, grabbing my arm and dragging me to the storage room. She locked me inside, her voice ringing in my ears. "Maybe this will teach you to respect your betters." Hours later, my father finally let me out. His words hurt more than Clara's actions. "You need to try harder," he said. "She's doing her best to include you." His refusal to see what was really happening broke my heart and created a distance between us I feared could never be repaired. Clara's punishments were frequent. Once she accused me of misplacing her favorite necklace. Despite my insistence that I hadn't touched it, she locked me out of the house for hours in the freezing cold. When my father returned home, he scolded me for being careless, believing Clara's lies without question. Lila and Bianca followed Clara's lead. They sabotaged my school projects, mocked my clothes, and spread rumors about me to ensure I remained an outcast. The weight of their torment crushed me, but I held on to the hope that one day I'd escape their grasp. Getting into the same college as Lila and Bianca felt more like a curse than a blessing. The idea of continuing to live under their shadow terrified me, but the promise of independence kept me going. On the first day, as I walked onto the sprawling campus, I promised myself that things would be different here. I found myself in the library, overwhelmed by the silence and the sheer number of books. That's when I first saw him, Ethan. He was leaning against a bookshelf, his sandy brown hair catching the sunlight streaming through the windows. His laughter was warm and inviting as he talked to a group of friends. I couldn't help but stare, and when his eyes met mine, my heart skipped a beat. He smiled, and I quickly looked away, embarrassed. Ethan turned out to be in the same literature class as me. When we were paired for a group project, Lila's irritation was palpable. She had been trying to get Ethan's attention since the semester started, and she couldn't stand the idea of him spending time with me. "Don't think for a second that he'd ever choose you over me," she hissed one day after class. But Ethan didn't seem to notice Lila's advances. Instead, he sought me out, sitting with me during lunch and walking me to class. He had a way of making me feel seen, something I hadn't felt in years. Our friendship deepened with every conversation, from shared jokes to late-night study sessions in the library. One evening, Ethan found me sitting alone in the library, my eyes puffy from crying. He placed a cup of coffee in front of me and sat down. "You've been avoiding me," he said gently. "What's going on?" I hesitated, but finally confessed everything. The years of torment, the punishments, the loneliness. As I spoke, Ethan's expression shifted from concern to anger. "They have no right to treat you like that," he said firmly. "You deserve so much better, Maya." His words broke through the walls I had built around myself. For the first time, I felt understood. Ethan reached out, covering my hand with his. "You're not alone anymore," he said, his voice steady. "I'm here for you." That moment changed everything. Our friendship deepened into something more. That night, Ethan walked me back to my dorm, and we spent hours talking, sharing stories, and building a connection I hadn't known was possible. One crisp autumn afternoon, Ethan invited me to a local park to get some fresh air. We ended up feeding ducks by the lake, laughing as one particularly greedy duck chased us for more breadcrumbs. As we sat on a bench, Ethan turned to me and said, "You're different, Maya, in a good way. You don't pretend to be someone you're not." His words made my cheeks flush, and when he reached out to tuck a stray strand of hair behind my ear, I felt a warmth I hadn't known before. A week later, during a college event, Ethan found me standing alone in the crowd. He took my hand and led me to the rooftop, where we could see the city lights. "This is my favorite spot," he said, "and I wanted to share it with you." The way he looked at me made my breath catch. He leaned in, and our first kiss was soft, tentative, but filled with unspoken emotions. Our third romantic encounter was on a rainy evening. I'd forgotten my umbrella, and Ethan appeared out of nowhere, offering to walk me home. By the time we reached my dorm, we were both soaked, but neither of us cared. Standing under the awning, he pulled me close, kissing me deeply as the rain poured around us. That night, for the first time, Ethan stayed with me. We talked for hours before falling asleep in each other's arms, the comfort of his presence chasing away years of loneliness. When Lila found out about Ethan and me, her jealousy turned vicious. She spread rumors about me, calling me a manipulative liar who stole Ethan out of spite. Clara's wrath was even worse. One evening, I came home to find her waiting for me. "You've embarrassed this family," she sneered before locking me in my room. "You'll stay here until you learn your place." Clara's punishments escalated. She cut off my phone access, making it impossible to contact Ethan. One night, I overheard her telling Lila to do whatever it takes to win Ethan back, as if he were some trophy. Desperate, I opened the window and climbed down the trellis, my heart pounding. I ran to Ethan's apartment, tears streaming down my face as I told him everything. He held me tightly, his voice firm. "You don't have to go back there, stay with me." With Ethan's support, I found the courage to cut ties with my toxic family. I moved into a small apartment and got a part-time job to support myself. Ethan was by my side every step of the way, helping me navigate this new chapter. Ethan and I grew even closer. We became inseparable, sharing dreams and building a future together. For the first time, I felt free to be myself, free to love, and free to live without fear. My past had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. With Ethan by my side, I knew I had finally found a place where I belonged. Story Hub.